There, just there. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the series of Hey Mom, what's your business? And today we have a very unique guest because usually I have online business only, but this mom has a brick and mortar and an online business. So just doing everything the right way. So without any delay, let's welcome Phenicia. Hi Phenicia, how are you?
Hi, Gabby. I am good. How are you?
Good, good. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and how what kind of business do you run?
Yes. So I am a real estate agent and I also do coaching. The name of my business is KP Lands Limited, and we also have the brand Simply Real Estate. We are located in the warm tropical island of Trinidad and Tobago. So, the weather is pretty good all the time. And I also do coaching on the side, which is more of my online stuff. Yeah,
Very
so
good.
I do business and life coaching basically, to help mompreneurs really integrate all the parts of their lives and not miss out. Because some moms feel like I have to choose between work and choose between running the family and spending time with the kids. But I help mom to integrate those lives so that they can have the best of both worlds.
Oh, that's amazing. That's exactly what we want to hear from you. Okay.
Yes.
So first, tell me, how did you, so you have a real estate business. How did you handle or balance your brick and mortar with your everyday activities as a mom?
Well, my brick and mortar also has part virtual
Okay.
because during the COVID-19 pandemic, we were in lockdown and we were basically forced to do virtual showings and all of that. I think because of the culture of people being so accustomed to the physical site visit, it was a little difficult during that period, but eventually people got accustomed to it. And now we have both options. So for the very, very busy persons who can't make it physically and they're quite comfortable with just doing a virtual tour, the virtual tour is the literal building, right? So we have the media guy, he goes to the building and he has all his gadgets and he uploads the physical building into the 3D world. And we schedule online tours where we can walk through. And at the point at which they decide, yes, I want this one, but you know what? I want to come and see what the pipelines are like. I want to make sure the electrical is in order. I want to bring my contractor. At that point, we then do a physical site visit. So it really saves my staff and myself a lot of time, money, and energy. And it's not that challenging to balance because with our schedules, we just book whether this is going to be a virtual or whether this is going to be a site visit. So initially, we had to figure out those schedules and try to accommodate everyone. But now the team is divided, and we have some persons who have their online virtual and some persons who have their physical site visits. So it is quite interesting and it gives us a lot of flexibility. When it comes to coaching, so I schedule myself in such a way that I can afford to do my real estate on some days and I do my coaching on other days. So
Okay.
I don't do both businesses every single day together because that
Okay.
will become overwhelming. And I don't live in scarcity, so I'm not really concerned about if I'm going to meet a particular target market and all of that. I go with the flow and I allow good energy to, just guide me.
Okay. And in all this, because you are separating the business, like real brick and mortar one day, the coaching on another day. But
Yeah.
will that take a lot of time away from your family, or how do you manage that part?
So, managing that part comes with my favorite word, delegation.
I've been hearing that word in the past 6 interviews. Everybody, you have to learn to delegate and to make automation. Okay, so I'm taking notes.
I mean, younger me, I was quite a micromanager because I always wanted things a particular way. And I also was living a lot of scarcity back then. So I was afraid if I train somebody, they'll take on my ideas and all of that. But, once I started to develop myself and become more aware of abundance and all of the opportunities out there and to see the value in training others and delegating, then I quickly let go of, well, I shouldn't say quickly because it did take some time, but I did let go of micromanaging totally. So I do not micromanage whatsoever. I love delegating. I set aside the time to train my staff so they know exactly what they have to do. And after they're trained and they put, I send them out there to work. If they need a recap of anything, I do it with them because as I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about you have to get to the place where you are replaceable in your business. And that sounds absurd, right? But it doesn't mean replaceable as you don't exist anymore. It means that your business is functioning without you. And you could go and do whatever else you want to do.
Oh, so it can give you the
So
freedom to do something.
yes. So
Okay.
so now I really enjoy training and coaching. I love it because it allows me to pass on my knowledge, my skills and whatnot, and then put them into my business. They run the show. And because I'm teaching them all about time management and being flexible on the job and whatever, they do exactly as I train them to do, and we keep a particular standard and quality. So clients can't really tell sometimes, especially over the phone, if they're dealing with a senior staff or a junior staff because
Yeah.
everybody is trained
Mhm.
to manage well. Of course, yes, we would have our hiccups and stuff in between, like any other business. But basically, I train and coach as much as possible so that they can go out and handle stuff. And I deal with more, quote unquote, the big stuff, right? The
Okay.
major administrative stuff, or I may have to deal with a particular client who maybe was working with me for a couple of years and they just got so comfortable, they're afraid to work with
They don't
somebody
want
else.
to change. Yeah.
Yeah, so certain things. So there are certain clients that don't want to change, that's fine. I work with them. And then there are certain responsibilities in the business itself that the boss has to sign or the boss has to deal with. And I put myself in place for that. But I dedicate myself to applying the Eisenhower matrix, which teaches you about what is really important versus what is urgent. And once I apply that to each situation, I delegate accordingly as it pertains to my business or my family.
Oh, that's very interesting. I'm going to rewind a little bit. You mentioned that you went from a scarcity mindset to an abundant mindset in order for
Yeah.
you to be able to do these three multi-piece business that you have. It's a lot.
Right.
Can you walk us a little bit on how did you do that? Because I think in what I've been listening on the chats and the comments on the Facebook groups is that moms are very afraid of how can I go and move forward if I have like a $5 budget because I have a very small budget, or because my family needs me so much that I cannot even spend 1 second away from them because they need me so much, or
Yeah.
that scarcity, which not necessarily is only about the financial, it's also about your time, that they need me so much that you don't have time
Right.
left. How did you move from that scarcity mindset?
I love that question. I absolutely do because you said all of that, and I am just seeing the old me being scared and everything. And even so, I firstly started off by seeking coaching and mentorship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even in my first 6 months, which was about 3 years ago, right? So even in my first 6 months, I was telling my mentor, listen, I know I'm supposed to be thinking about abundance, but the reality is I don't have enough abundance, right? And
You want me
I
to
really
get something
had
that I
to,
don't have?
yes.
Yeah.
So I really had to let go, and I really had to make certain decisions. And one of the decisions was being able to make that choice to hire my first staff member.
Oh,
And I did
that
not
is
know how I was going to pay this girl. I didn't know what was going to happen. And I just said, you know what? God will make a way and it will be. And I interviewed her. She was a referral.
mm-hmm.
And I found, okay, she's perfect. So well, the referral came very high anyways. And then I said, you know what, I'll try her out. So first we started off with hourly wage, and she was only allowed to work a minimum amount of hours because that's what I thought, I could manage. And then she was working so well. We were getting so many listings, and I was like, okay, you're doing the calls, but I am only one person, so I can only show X amount of properties within X amount of hours. And because I was spreading myself out so thin, I wasn't closing any properties
Okay.
because I wasn't
You're not
able
paying
to.
attention to your clients because you are so
Yeah,
busy.
exactly.
Mhm.
So if I was able to dedicate a certain amount of time to one property, then I can show a lot of people. So let's say, for example, I decide, okay, the next 7 days, I'm going to do an open house and try to show 100 people this property. I couldn't do that because 10,000 other people were calling me to see other properties. Now, I'm over exaggerating with that figure. But a bunch of other people were calling me to see other properties, and I couldn't send anybody else to do it. I had to do it myself. So it became very frustrating that we have all these listings, so we can't close anything. And then I had to make, so then I told her, okay, let's work on commission base because we're not closing anything. And my savings is depleting. Then we went into COVID. It was too much.
It was crazy. Oh my
Yes, so
God.
we went into commission base, and then I said, okay, now I have to take the risk and hire somebody else to work the field with me. So I hired my second person, and I said, okay, it's going to be commission based, and she was taking one area, she handled one location, I handled the other location as far as communities and houses, and we started closing. So then I said, okay, we might
Literally,
need to
you literally
cut
divide and conquer.
Right. So here I was afraid of abundance because I really was like, and because I was also afraid that what if I can't handle it? And then I ended up in that situation. And they say what you believe you receive, right? So
So,
first,
so let me understand. So you went from a scarcity to an abundance, but you were also afraid of abundance. Like, what if I don't, if I can handle it? So that's a little bit about the
yeah,
imposter syndrome. What if I can't make it? What if I can, I'm not
yeah,
good enough at closing all those deals? Oh my God.
yes.
You're
So
talking about
then
all the
so
points
then I
we
go.
have every single day.
Yeah.
How did you manage?
So then I went from not having enough listings to make closes to having way too much. I can't handle it. And then I said, okay, you know what? Let's do this. Let's not get any more listings for a while. Let's work on getting these off our hands, build some capital, and then we can start back listings. And then things started to flow and it just started to work out. And I was like, oh, I guess when you take the risk, it's worth it. So I said all of that to say you have to take the risk. Yes, you may not have any money, and especially if it's coming to coaching, coaching is generally something where you don't really have to put out much to start,
Mhm.
right? So if you're going to start with your YouTube, or maybe you want to start with a free version of Zoom or whatever platform you use. Microsoft has free stuff now,
Yes.
Google has free stuff. So you can always tap into whatever free limited resources you can find to start. And then you have to get to that point of just taking the risk. Because only when you take the risk, then you'll be able to cross that barrier from scarcity into abundance. So no, I'm
What do
not
you,
afraid of abundance. I
okay.
know I have the tools and the resources to
Okay.
handle abundance now.
Okay. Okay. Why do you think we as women are not risk takers?
Um, I think it just might be an international culture of not being taught
Mm-hmm.
to take risks because generally, even from young, male is usually the ones who they send out for the risky thing. So they send their son in the dark, or you send your son to kill the roach, or you send your son to, do the thing because the men are taught to protect us.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't really learn how to protect, not even ourselves. So I think that it's from a natural our psychological development, and we have to start teaching our younger ones that hey, yes, there may be rules and stuff um for different people, but we all at some point have to take a risk or try new things, so
Okay. It's part of the cultural, how we were raised, like you are very comfortable, you're supposed to do up to these kind of tasks, and the rest are not your chore, that's somebody else's. So you just have to figure it out, like they say, the half. half an orange to fill in the task when you can actually do everything, and then you can have a half orange to do many things with you, but you can also be a risk taker. You can also do many other things.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because when you take risk is when you will really get to find out what's on the other side. You know, so you might look up and say, I'm afraid of heights. I can't climb that wall. And it's not that you can't, you don't want to,
Mhm.
right? But maybe you just need to take your time and not look back, not look down, and just keep going until you get to the top. Then you're probably going to be afraid to go back down the
Ah,
other side. But only when you get to the top, you'll be able to see what's on the other side. And then you get to decide, oh, I love what's on the other side. Okay, let me figure out how to get down. Or I don't like what I'm seeing. I think I'm going to go back, you know?
yeah, that reminds me. My younger kid took me to this zip line and jungle tree park, and I was 45 feet on the roof on a tree, and I was like zip line, all cloaked with all these cables, and I was like, I'm going to die. I was so petrified, and then I look at all the things I have and all the gear, and I said, well, I cannot fall because I have so much equipment on me. And they told me that I can't fall. So I'm just going to do it. And actually zip line from a 45-foot whatever. It was crazy. It was exciting. And I'm so into it that I will do it again. So I went from being so panicked over there at 45 foot on a trail, like, oh my God, everybody looked like little tiny ants. And now I'm like, yeah, now I want to do it again because it was so good. And as you said, from that panic, when I realized that you are safe, you have the tools, you have everything. So there's no reason for you to fall or die over there in the middle. You can do it. And actually,
Exactly.
I had so much fun. So that goes, as you say, in everything when you have the tools, and it is just a change of mindset.
That's correct. And the thing with going from scarcity to abundance or going from risk adverse to risk taker is just one choice. And that choice is yours.
Oh
You
my
know,
God.
that's not Jerry's choice or Amanda's
No.
choice. That choice is yours, right? So you have to use your choices and use them as best as you see fit.
Wow, that is impressive. And in all this, how you are developing like your family, how did your family was during your journey of this process of being scarcity to abundance and all these changes that you're making? How did they say, oh, my mom is just crazy, she's just doing so many things that she doesn't even have time for me, and she's on the phone all day long and she doesn't allow me to be on the phone? How did you manage that? Did you talk to them? You have very conversation, they understood since the beginning, you have a support? How was it?
So my daughter literally says I'm crazy all the time. Mom, you are so crazy, right? And definitely during the COVID period, it started off really challenging, especially with all the online school and then
Yeah.
online work and all of that. And back then she was 5, so
Oh
she
my.
just did not have the attention span to sit for 30 minutes, much less 4 of those sessions per day. So eventually I had to, well, back then, eventually I had to get a childcare provider to come in and help.
Mhm.
And what I would do back then was I would have my work session when she has a class, and I would take a break every time she gets a break so that she could
Okay.
get to see me, she could get to harass me, because we were home in the same
Yes.
house. Now I 2 days in office and 3 days at home. She's back out to school. They also have a hybrid version. So some days she's online for school
Okay.
and some days she's out. So with that flexibility, we have our rules, and we know that when we have school and work at home, you stay in your room, I stay in my room, and when school is going on, school is going on. If you have to use the washroom, you still have to ask the teacher online,
Okay.
right? And if I hear you outside, or if I happen to be in the living room and see you walk into the washroom, I'm going to go to the teacher and say that Zola asked to go out. Right? So we have our own rules, and when it comes to the phones, we have boundaries as well. Because I recently learned that the light from the phone, the type of light from
Yeah.
phones and tablets and all of these things affect our brains and make it move faster. So before bed, we usually put phones away. Sometimes it's challenging because somebody might call or somebody might text.
Yes.
But I have her put away her devices so her brain can start to slow down and she can go to bed. I really try it myself, but sometimes it's so challenging,
So
especially
challenging.
if it's my me time and my me time includes watching a movie or whatever. But I would usually have to say, okay, I'm gonna have to do it a little earlier so I can still get the time to cool down my brain, because I realize that it takes me a while to fall asleep, and that's because my brain is trying to calm down before I fall asleep. So we do have our rules for when it's time to work and be in school online. We follow the rules, or we have consequences to deal with. And
Okay. So very
we don't,
strict boundaries.
yes, they don't like consequences, right? And
No, they
you
don't.
have to know, yeah, you have to know your kids, and each child is different. So with my daughter, no playtime and no snack time is the worst thing ever. So so I know once the word consequences come up, she gets in order and she does what she has to do. Of course, she is very testing because they like to poke,
How old is she
but
now? 7?
basically she's 8 now.
Mhm.
She's 8 now. Yeah.
Got it. Interesting times.
Yes. So yeah, we just try our best to follow the rules, and that works. And I think because we've had so much practice during the lockdown period, that now, even though it's a hybrid version, we have gotten accustomed to the routine.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
And when you are running this your businesses, what has been the most important thing that has motivated you to keep doing what you're doing?
Um, Most definitely, just being able to have financial freedom and time freedom. Some days when you have low days or when you have a lot of challenges going on with work, you feel like giving up. But then when you realize, if I give up, I can't get the financial freedom and I can't get the time freedom. So,
Yes.
so yeah, just
That
having a
freedom keeps you going, motivated.
yeah, just being able to have a holistic lifestyle is a big motivation for me, because I want to be able to go to the office when I want to. I don't want to be dictated by a boss. And I do see my clients as my bosses sometimes, because if my clients don't pay, I have no money. However, it's not the same as having to report to a boss on a
Okay.
daily basis or anything like that. So I totally love freedom. So freedom,
Oh,
I would say,
absolutely. One
is
of my
the greatest motivation.
That's great. One of my friends told me, well, I exchanged one boss for 100 bosses. And I don't know if I did the right choice. I'm like, well, it all depends. Well, what type of bosses did you have? But she's like,
Yeah,
I don't know if I
yeah,
made the right choice because now they call me all the time. So
yeah. But you have to set your boundaries with your clients too, huh?
I was going to say that. What would you recommend? Because a lot of
Yeah,
moms who are starting, uh, they want to have so many clients and they accept everybody, and then they don't put those boundaries because they are working, because they are trying to make that business successful, but in the end they're just you might say I'd say not educating your client, because even
right.
clients need to know that is from 9 to 5. Maybe it's not a 9 to 5, but at least you know that if you send an email, I will answer it the next day because it's 6 o'clock already, or 7 o'clock, or 8 o'clock, or 9 o'clock. I don't know. How do you deal with that?
So I say the same way you have to train your kids, you have to train your clients,
Okay.
right? And I do hear a lot of people say that, well, how could you be a business person and you're not responding to your clients? We have business hours. And I think that one of the reasons why our clients in particular bug us outside of work hours is because we are small,
Mhm.
because they are not going to do that to Microsoft client, right? Because they have office hours.
Uh-huh.
And even if they have online hours, when you send a message and you wait for a chat to pop up, you can't do anything until it pops up,
Okay.
right? And when you start training your clients, they become accustomed to what to expect, right? So if you message, so I have two phones. One is personal and one is business. And my business phone is off when business is closed, right?
Okay.
You're gonna get an automated message telling you not available. These are the business hours. I'll be, myself or another agent will get onto you as soon as possible. And if you send an email, well, emails, I don't do automated emails unless I'm out of country or something like that. So when you send an email, I might read it when I come in, but I'm not going to respond until operational hours because I'm training you to understand you have to respect my time. Because
Okay.
when you are out having a grand time with your family, I'm not disturbing you. So
Okay.
why would you disturb my personal time and my personal space with my family or just my personal space with me? So I think you have to train your clients and they get accustomed to it. And there's a very thin line there, again, with scarcity and abundance.
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, we want the most clients possible because we want the money to keep
Yeah.
rolling, and that's fine. But you also cannot be afraid to lose a client, right? Because if you're afraid to lose a client, it means that you're not going to set high standards for yourself.
Okay.
You're always going to be crossing boundaries, because if I cross my own boundaries, who's going to respect them? I'm not respecting my own boundaries, so why should anybody else? So you
Okay.
have to respect your own boundaries, and you have to be prepared to lose some clients, because it probably just means they weren't the right clients for you anyway. So there's a very thin line with that there, and you can't be afraid to lose clients. I'm not afraid to lose clients at all. If
Mm-hmm.
I realize they are disrespectful, I am not going to say, well, oh my gosh, I'm going to make $10,000 in 2 weeks. The amount of stress they are going to put me through in that 2 weeks, it's not worth $10,000. So I
Okay.
prefer to say, no, thank you. Or I prefer to say, I'm really sorry, I'm not able to do this. Let me pass you on to somebody else. And I actually do have colleagues and people within the fraternity that love challenging clients, because
Okay.
that's their personality. So when they come my way, I just send them the other way.
Thank
And
you.
because
No, thank you.
yeah, and then because I do that, when other persons in the fraternity like overwhelm, they would say, you know what, let's go broke on this. And they will send a client my way and we do 50-50 commission and everybody's happy. So instead of thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose this client because I can't deal with the
You
challenge, he
share your client
disrespect.
with somebody else and still you're winning.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So you can't be afraid of losing a client. And of course, there's so many innovative ideas for partnerships and still being able to deal with the situation. You can outsource a contractor or somebody who is in the same field who's willing to deal with that person. You still make a cut. The other person makes something. The client is dealt with, and everything is fine. So you really have to be able to set your boundaries, train your clients, and not be worried about losing anything.
Amazing. And now, well, that was a lot of your brick and mortar and how you deal with it. Now, can you tell me why on first, how did you come up with an idea of your online business for coaching? And how did you, how did you make that idea? How did that idea came into your mind?
So again, that goes back to COVID-19. And when we were in, yeah, so like COVID-19 was a very devastating time for the whole world. However, it did bring some benefits for me, right? Because it helped me to put things into perspective. Literally the first month I was doing absolutely nothing and just being lazy because I was like, oh, this is an opportunity to sleep and do nothing.
I
But
haven't
then my
that too.
bills, yeah, but then your savings start being depleted. You're not able to manage your bills, and you're like, okay, we need to figure something out. So while I had my two persons, well, now I'm up to seven, but I had my two persons and they were helping out, but the income was still not coming in fast enough. And I wasn't ready to take the risk to hire a third person.
Mhm.
So I decided, you know what, I need to get some other source of income. So before COVID, I had multiple sources of income, doing little hustles, catering, doing event management, and
Uh-huh.
all different things. But now that everything is locked down, we can't do out other physical things to make money. And that's how I decided, you know what, let me try this coaching thing because I talk to people all the time. I give them advice all the time for free. Let me start charging them for
So
my
again,
my
you went from
time.
a scarcity to an abundance. You figured out how to make that scarcity that you were not able to do many of your other businesses, and you went to an abundance mindset to say, you know, I can do this online because anyway, you were already doing it. Am I listening right? Understanding
Yes,
right? Okay.
yes, yes, that's correct. That is correct.
And in that sense, what would you suggest or what would you recommend to any mom or non-mom woman that wants to start a business and they have no idea how to change that? First, how to do it. That will be your first advice. And second advice I would like for you to share with them is how one simple thing to start changing that mindset from scarcity and into abundance. Besides hiring you, of course.
Um, Yeah. Well, first, part one, I would definitely say to do your research
Mhm.
and definitely talk to persons within the field and ask them about all the negative things, all the failures, all the troubles, challenges, whatever bad stuff they would have encountered. Because once you know what those things are in the same field, then you can prepare because you know what to expect in the negative aspect of things. Focusing too much on the positive gets us carried away, and then when the negative happens, we're disappointed. So I think that getting the research and finding out about all the negative things and preparing yourself with the expectation there's a possibility this can happen to me too. You can now create a risk management plan when you're doing your business plan, and you can now have that as your backup. So I definitely would recommend doing that before you start. And it would also get you from the place of not knowing where to start
Oh my God, you're breaking up.
to, oh, this is
And, okay, can you repeat that one because you broke up?
where did I cut off? Yeah, where did I cut off?
You cut off a little bit on you shouldn't, and then I couldn't understand what you're trying to say.
So yeah, I was saying that once you get to know all of the negative things,
Okay.
you know what to expect. And
Okay.
once you know what to expect, then you can go from I have no idea where to start to okay, let's start with the risk management plan, and then we will figure out the rest, right?
Very good.
Um, for part two, can you just remind me what part two was? Where do they start? Okay, so where do they start with shifting from scarcity to
Scarcity,
abundance?
abundance.
I would definitely say start with getting a coach or a mentor or even a therapist who can help you with behavioral
Okay.
patterns and behavioral changes because it is a behavior, right? It's something
Okay.
that we practice all the time. We might have grown up with our parents saying, no, you can't have this, we don't have any money. No, you can't go there, we have no money. So, it might have been something that you learned and it's just for you to unlearn it and
Right.
now learn or maybe replace that practice into something else, into saying, okay, instead of saying I have no money, say I am working on increasing my income so that I can be able to
Okay.
afford it is. And you just start small. So there are a lot of support groups out there. So maybe if you can't afford to pay for a coach or mentor or therapist, you can start with joining the free support groups, hear
Okay.
some of the other stories, engage with them, and then while you're working on being able to afford it, and there are even programs out there that give you like your first or maybe between your first and 6 sessions free for therapy, because again, because of COVID, there's so much health providers that are trying to support people now. So, you could start with that because you have to get the help. You really can't do it alone. You can try and be successful, but it's going to take you way longer than if you get the help.
Absolutely. So get the help because as I say, it's just 1%, but that percent is what makes the difference in your life, right?
Yes, definitely. It's
Very,
like Atomic Habits.
yeah,
I read that book and that was a life changer for me.
right?
Yeah.
It's a very good book. And
Yeah.
where can they find you? Well, in Trinidad and Tobago, they know where to find you. But if for the ones who are not in Trinidad and Tobago,
Yes.
where can they find you?
Yeah. So you can get me on Instagram or Facebook at Mompreneur Talk TT or just Mompreneur Talk. So on Instagram, it's Mompreneur Talk TT. On Facebook, it's just Mompreneur Talk. You can also find my real estate business on Instagram at SRETT2019. And you can find me on Facebook as Simply Real Estate. You can also email me at mompreneurtalk@gmail.com. So I'm sure you're gonna put that in the in it a
I'm
little
going to put
slower.
in the
But
note
I
show.
said it,
Yes.
yeah, I said it as low as I can, but that's where you can get me. You can pop me an email, respond,
Mhm.
and you can follow me on Instagram or Facebook. I'll be sure to follow you back.
Very good. And what are your future plans?
Right. So for my real estate business, the goal is to eventually get to full-time virtual, and I want to develop such a trustworthy platform that persons are open to just doing virtual showings, making an offer, closing a property without being worried about the physical condition of the building. And when it comes to my coaching, I'm currently working on that 1,000 true clients. So that's my future goals right now.
Impressive. Very good. Very, very streamlined goals. You have so much clarity. I'm so happy that we have met and you are my guest today because you have given the moms who are listening to you a lot of inspiration and you have shared a lot of good points on how to slowly define where do you want to go. And one of the main things is that change on mindset and delegating
Definitely.
which
Yeah.
is part of that not being a control.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I would definitely say if you didn't get anything today, take away delegating and shifting your mindset from scarcity to abundance. Those two things would definitely get you far.
Very good. Well, thank you, Phenicia. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for within us and sharing your knowledge and all your inspiring stories. And you can, where am I? You can find us at the Content with a Purpose. And Phenicia, you can find her at Mompreneur Talk in Instagram. And I'm going to put the rest on the show notes. Thank you very much and see you next week.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me. Have a good day. Bye.
Well, friends, this has been a wonderful conversation with Phenicia. She has taught us that specific part of how to change your mindset from scarcity to abundance. And that is, I believe, is one of the key points for you to be a successful business mom and to handle your raising a family while doing all this. So until next week, I'm Gaby Rendon, and you can find me content with a purpose on any social media or as Gaby Rendon on LinkedIn. Bye bye.